My Dream of Heaven, Chapter 15. There is an endearing tenderness in the love of a mother to a son that transcends all other affections of the heart. It is neither to be chilled by selfishness, nor daunted by danger, nor weakened by worthlessness, nor stifled by ingratitude. She will sacrifice every comfort to his convenience. She will surrender every pleasure to his enjoyment. She will glory in his fame and exult in his prosperity, and if adversity overtake him, he will be the dearer to her by misfortune, and if disgrace settle upon his name, she will still love and cherish him, and if all the world beside cast him off, she will be all the world to him. Washington Irving. The current of my life flowed on in the heavenly ways until the months began to lengthen into years, and my daily studies ascended higher in the scale of celestial mysteries. I never wearied of study, though much was taught and gained through the medium of observation in the journeys that I was permitted to take with my brother into different parts of the heavenly kingdom. I never lacked time for social pleasures and enjoyments, for there is no clashing of duties with inclination, no unfulfilled desires, no vain strivings for the unattainable in that life as in the life of earth. Many precious hours of conversation were spent in my dear father's home, and sometimes on rare occasions I was permitted to accompany him to his fields of labor, and assist him in instructing those lately come into the new life, with little or no preparation for its duties and responsibilities. On one occasion he said to me, "I have the most difficult problem to deal with I have ever yet met in this work. It is how to enlighten and help a man who suddenly plunged from an apparently honorable life into the very depths of crime. I have never been able to get him to accompany me to the river, where these earthly cobwebs would be swept away from his poor brain, his excuse always being that God's mercy is so great in allowing him inside God's gates at all, that he is content to remain always in its lowest scale of enjoyment and life. No argument or teaching thus far can make him alter his decision. He was led astray by infatuation for a strange woman, and killed his aged mother in order to secure her jewels for this wretched creature. He was executed for the crime, of which in the end he sincerely repented, but he left life with all the horror of the deed clinging to his soul. Has he seen his mother since coming here? Does she know of his arrival? No. She's entirely alone in this world, and it was not thought wise to tell her of his coming until his soul was in a better condition to receive her. He was an only child, and does not lack the elements of refinement, but he was completely under the control of this vile though fascinating woman. It is said that she drugged his wine and incited him to do the dreadful deed while under its influence because of her hatred for his mother, whose influence was against her. When he came out from under the influence of the wine, he was horrified at what he had done, and his infatuation for the woman turned to loathing. But alas, it was too late. He would not see her during his entire incarceration. How long was he in prison? Almost a year. Has he seen the Christ? No, he begs not to see him. He's very repentant, and grateful to be saved from the wrath he feels was his just punishment. But although he's conscious that his sin is forgiven, he does not yet feel he can ever stand in the presence of the Holy One, and here, as upon earth, each must be willing to receive him. His presence is never given undesired. I've not yet appealed for higher help. My ambition is to lead these weak souls upward through the strength entrusted to me. Can you suggest anything that would probably reach him? His mother. May I bring her? He thought a moment reflectively and then said, "Woman's intuition. Yes, bring her." I soon was on my way. I found the poor woman, laid the facts gently before her, and waited her decision. There was no hesitancy upon her part. In an instant she said, My poor boy, certainly I will go with you at once." We found my father waiting for us and went immediately to the great home where these students, would we call them students, stayed. It was a beautiful great building in the midst of a park, with shaded walks and fountains and flowers everywhere. To one just freed from earth it seemed a paradise indeed, but to those of us who had tasted heaven's rarer joys something was wanting. We missed the lovely individual homes, the little children playing on the lawns, the music of the angelic choir. It was tame indeed beside the pleasures that we had tasted. We found the young man seated beneath one of the flower-laden trees, intently reading a book that my father had left with him. There was a peaceful look on his pale face, but it was rather the look of patient resignation than of ardent joy. His mother approached him alone, my father and I remaining in the background. After a little time he glanced up and saw his mother standing near him. A startled look came into his face, and he rose to his feet. She extended her arms toward him and cried out pathetically, "John, my dear boy, come home to me. I need you." And that was all. With a low cry he knelt at her feet and clasped her knees, sobbing, "Mother, mother." She stooped and put her tender arms around him. She drew his head gently to her breast and showered kisses on his bowed head. Oh, the warm mother love, the same in earth and heaven. Only Christ's love can exceed it. Here was this outraged mother, sent into eternity by the hands of him who should have shielded and sustained her, bending above a repentant son with the mother love with which her heart was overflowing, shining upon him from her gentle eyes. I saw my father turn his head to conceal his emotion, and I knew my own eyes were wet. My father had explained to the mother that the first thing to be accomplished was to get her son to the river, so we now heard her say caressingly, "Come, John, come, my boy, take the first step upward for your mother's sake, that in time I may have the joy of seeing you in our own home. Come, John, come with mother." She gently drew him, and to our great joy we saw him rise and go with her, and their steps led them to the river. They walked hand in hand, and as far as we could see them, she seemed to be soothing and comforting him. "Thank God," said my father fervently. "There will be no further trouble now. When they return, he will see with clearer vision," and so it proved. After this, by divine permission, I became much of the time a co-laborer with my father, and thus enjoyed his society and his instructions much more often than otherwise I could have done. End of chapter 15.